My wife, Emily, walked into the living room wearing an expression I'd seen before, equal parts excitement and hesitation. She sat beside me on the couch and started fiddling with her phone, pretending to scroll. I could tell she had something on her mind, so I set my book down and waited. She finally spoke, her voice oddly casual. "Amanda's throwing a little party this Saturday night, just a few friends, nothing big." The moment she said Amanda's name, a tightness formed in my chest. Amanda wasn't only Emily's best friend, she thrived on drama and chaos, always pushing limits and dragging Emily into situations that left me bewildered. Over the years I learned to tolerate her because Emily valued their friendship, but I never trusted Amanda's sense. "I don't know, Emily," I said cautiously. "You know how I feel about Amanda's get-togethers. They're almost never what she calls them." Emily rolled her eyes and gave one of those little laughs she uses when she thinks I'm overreacting. "Ryan, it's just a small gathering. It's not like we're in high school anymore." "Amanda's grown up," I wanted to believe her, but something about the way she avoided my gaze felt off. "If it's so small, why does she need you there? Why not just hang out with her other friends?" I asked, keeping my tone neutral. "She asked me specifically," Emily snapped, her voice a bit sharper. "Now you're really making a big deal out of nothing." It wasn't worth pushing. I knew further questioning would only become an argument, and I didn't want to be that overprotective husband who couldn't trust his wife. So I let it go, even though every instinct in me screamed that something wasn't right. Saturday night arrived and Emily really dressed up. I'd never seen her put that much effort into what she called a small gathering. She wore a sleek black dress that hugged her, heels that added just enough elegance, and even the perfume I'd bought her years ago, the bottle she'd hardly touched in ages. "You look stunning," I said as she adjusted her earrings in the mirror. "Thanks," she replied, barely looking at me. There was no warmth, none of our usual playful banter when she got dressed up. She grabbed her purse and keys, paused at the door, and said, "Don't wait up for me. It might go late." That was the first real warning sign. Emily usually came home early from those things, complaining about how boring they were. Tonight she sounded almost eager. I forced a smile and nodded, though my gut told me this wasn't just another night out with Amanda. Once the door closed behind her, the house fell silent. I tried to distract myself with a TV game, but I couldn't concentrate. My mind kept replaying her expression before she left, like I was an afterthought. She hadn't even asked if I wanted to come, which was unusual. Normally she'd at least include me, even knowing I'd decline. Hours passed and my unease grew. I checked my phone over and over, expecting a text or a photo of her with Amanda and company, but nothing arrived. By midnight I was pacing the living room, telling myself I was overreacting. Maybe she was just having fun and didn't want to be rude by texting. When I finally went to bed, her side of the sheets was still cold. I lay awake, replaying our earlier conversation. Was I being paranoid? Was I projecting my insecurities? I didn't have answers, only a nagging feeling that something was wrong. Morning came and Emily's side of the bed remained untouched. I searched the house, hoping to find her asleep on the couch or in a guest room, but she wasn't anywhere. Her car wasn't in the driveway and my phone showed no missed calls or messages. Panic started to creep in. Emily always checked in, even when she stayed out late. I called her, straight to voicemail. I rang Amanda next. After a few rings she picked up. "Hey Amanda," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "Is Emily still with you?" There was a pause long enough to make my heart race. No, she left hours ago," Amanda replied, tone defensive. "Why? Is everything okay?" I asked. "She didn't come home," I said, the words tasting bitter. "Well, maybe she needed time to herself," Amanda suggested, but she sounded unconvincing. Something in her reply felt rehearsed, like she was covering for Emily. I thanked her and hung up, the knot in my stomach tightening. This wasn't a simple misunderstanding, something was happening, and I wasn't ready. I decided I wouldn't let it slide. I didn't know the whole story yet, but I was determined to find out. The hours after calling Amanda were some of the longest of my life. I sat at the kitchen table, staring at my phone, hoping she'd call and explain, a dead battery, a hotel stay to avoid driving late, anything. By 10 a.m. I couldn't sit still. I started tidying the house just to keep my hands busy, and that's when I noticed something odd. Emily's work bag sat by the door, but her purse, which she never left home without, was missing. A small detail, but it felt important, like a piece of a puzzle I couldn't place. I called her again, straight to voicemail. I left a message, my voice shaking. Emily, it's me. I'm getting worried. Please call me back. With nothing else to do, I grabbed my keys and decided to retrace her steps, starting with Amanda's house. Pulling up to Amanda's, I could see her on the porch with a coffee. She spotted me and waved, but her expression was guarded, like she'd been expecting me. Hey, she said, setting down her mug. Did you hear from Emily? No, I said bluntly. That's why I'm here. Are you sure she left last night? Amanda hesitated, looking at her hands. Yeah, she left around midnight. She said she was heading home alone. She left alone, I pressed. Yes, Amanda replied too quickly. Look, Ryan, I don't want to get involved. Maybe you should just wait for her to call. I'm sure there's a reasonable explanation. Her words rang hollow, and the way she avoided my eyes only made my suspicion grow. I left without much said, driving away with a feeling that Amanda wasn't being honest. Back home, I sat on the couch, mind racing. If Emily wasn't at Amanda's and she hadn't come home, where was she? Then I remembered a name she'd mentioned from the party, Derek. I'd met him a few times at Amanda's gatherings, tall, charming, and always a bit too familiar with Emily. At the time I'd shrugged it off as meaningless flirting, but now I wasn't so sure. I found Derek's number in my phone. Emily had added it months earlier after a group outing. My hands shook as I dialed. It rang, then his groggy voice answered. Hello? Derek, it's Ryan, I said, trying to keep steady. Was Emily with you last night? There was a pause long enough to confirm my worst fear. No man. I haven't seen her since the party. Since the party, I repeated, voice rising. So she was with you? Well, yeah, Derek admitted reluctantly, but only at Amanda's. She left right after. I swear. I hung up before he could add more. My chest tightened. Emily had lied. She told me it was a small gathering with Amanda, but Derek had been there too. Why hide that? Why were they so ready to dismiss her absence? I needed answers now. I started searching for clues. Her laptop was locked with a password I didn't know. Our shared desktop had her email signed in, but only normal work messages and junk. Frustrated, I checked her social accounts. There I found a private message from Amanda sent just hours before the party. Don't worry, he won't find out. Just be careful. My heart sank. Was that about me? Was Amanda helping Emily hide something or someone? I read the message over and over. This wasn't a harmless misunderstanding. Emily was hiding something big, and Amanda was part of it. Part of me wanted to confront Amanda right then, but another part knew I needed more proof. If I accused Emily without concrete evidence, she'd deny everything and paint me as the unreasonable one. So I waited, planning to face her when I had the facts. As the day wore on and the sun began to set, I realized she wasn't coming back, not for now, and when she did, I'd be ready. Late that night I heard her car pull into the driveway. My heart raced as I watched her step out. She moved slowly, almost cautiously, like she expected someone to be waiting. She'd changed out of her dress, now in jeans and a sweater, but her face betrayed her, exhausted, guilty. When she opened the door, I was on the couch pretending to watch TV. She paused, surprised to find me awake. Hey, she said softly, setting her purse down. You're up late. I muted the TV and turned to face her. Where were you? She froze, eyes widening for a split second before composing herself. I told you, Amanda's party all night. My tone sharpened. Amanda said you left hours ago. She paled and forced a laugh. I went for a drive. I just needed time to think. You didn't come home, you didn't answer my calls or texts. Do you have any idea how worried I was? I demanded. I'm sorry, she said quickly, voice trembling. I should have called. I wasn't in the right headspace. Headspace for what? I stepped closer. What's going on, Emily? Don't lie to me. I talked to Amanda and Derek. Something isn't adding up. Her eyes dropped and she bit her lip, a nervous habit I knew too well. Ryan, you're overthinking, she said weakly. There's nothing going on. Then why, I said, pulling out my phone, did Amanda send you a message that said don't worry he won't find out? What am I not supposed to find out? Emily went white, silent, mouth opening and closing as she searched for words. Finally she breathed, it's not what you think. Explain it, I said, quiet but firm. Right now it looks like you've been lying to me. You have one chance to come clean. Her hands trembled as she grabbed the back of a chair for support. Ryan, I didn't want to tell you because I knew you'd be upset, she stammered. Amanda was just trying to cover for me. I wasn't with Derek, I swear. I narrowed my eyes. If you weren't with him, who were you with? I don't believe you were just driving around, she hesitated, and I realized the truth wasn't going to come easily. Whatever she was hiding was serious, and she wasn't going to spill it willingly. She stood there gripping the chair, silence louder than any excuse. Emily, I said, voice cold but steady, tell me the truth right now. Finally she whispered, I wasn't with anyone. I just needed time to clear my head. Clear your head from what? I snapped. What's so stressful you had to disappear all night without telling your husband? Is there someone else? Tears filled her eyes and she shook her head. It's not like that, she whispered. Ryan, please stop. You're making this into something it's not. Then make me believe you, I demanded. Give me a reason to trust you. Right now, all I see is someone lying to my face. Her shoulders sagged under the weight of whatever she'd been carrying. Fine, she said, barely audible. I'll tell you. But promise you won't freak out. That depends, I said, crossing my arms. Tell me the truth and I'll decide how to react. She chewed her lip, took a deep breath, and started. I went to the party, but it wasn't what I expected. Amanda invited people I didn't know and things got out of hand. Out of hand how? I asked, suspicion growing. There were drinks and some people were flirty, she admitted, avoiding my eyes. I felt uncomfortable, so I left early. And you didn't think to call or come home, I pressed. I was embarrassed, she said quickly. I didn't want you to think I was part of it. Part of what? I demanded. Stop dodging and tell me what happened. She sighed in frustration and finally blurted, there was a guy. He was being too friendly and I didn't know how to handle it, so I left. Her answer didn't settle anything. It felt incomplete, like she was protecting someone or something. What's his name? I asked calmly but firmly. She looked startled. The guy? What's his name? If this is innocent, you should have no problem telling me. She froze, eyes darting around like searching for an escape. It doesn't matter, she said finally. Nothing happened. Then why do I feel like you're lying? I shot back. Why does it seem like there's more than you're admitting? Ryan, please, she pleaded, voice breaking. Not now. I'm exhausted. No, I said, shaking my head. We're doing this now. You don't get to give vague excuses and walk away after last night. For a moment she stood there like she didn't know what to say, then she turned and walked down the hallway, slamming the bedroom door. It wasn't like her to shut down mid-conversation. Whatever she was hiding had pushed her out of character and frightened me. I sat back on the couch, mind racing. If she wouldn't tell me, I'd find out myself. Then I noticed her phone charging on the counter. Probably she assumed I wouldn't go through it, but at that moment boundaries didn't matter. I needed answers. I picked it up, hands trembling. The screen asked for a passcode, one I luckily knew. It was the one she'd used for years. My heart pounded as I unlocked it and scrolled through messages. At first there was only mundane stuff, coworkers, her mom, Amanda. Then I saw a name I didn't recognize, Zach. The messages were vague but chilling. Zach, last night was amazing. Can't stop thinking about you. Emily, I told you, we need to be careful. He can't find out. I stared at the screen, heart pounding. The words blurred as betrayal washed over me. Emily had lied to my face, and here was proof. But I couldn't confront her yet, not until I had the full picture. If she could hide this, I needed to be strategic. When the time came, she wouldn't see it coming. I sat in the quiet kitchen, piecing together the messages. The texts between Emily and Zach confirmed my fears. There was someone else. The conversations were purposely vague, but there were breadcrumbs, mentions of last night, our little secret, I'll find a way to see you soon. No doubt remained, she was seeing Zach behind my back. My knuckles whitened as I gripped the phone. I didn't know who Zach was, but I was going to find out. First, more evidence. We'd enabled location history years ago for safety during trips. Funny how something meant for peace of mind can become a tool to expose betrayal. I opened the map and scrolled through timestamps from the night before. As suspected, she hadn't been driving around to clear her head. She'd gone to a hotel across town, stayed nearly 3 hours, then returned to Amanda's and finally home. A hotel. My stomach dropped. There was no innocent reason for that length of time. My wife, the person I trusted most, had been in a hotel with another man. I put the phone down, hand shaking. My heart hammered so hard I thought it might burst. I wanted to storm into the bedroom and demand answers, but that would only lead to lies, tears, and gaslighting. No, I had to be deliberate. If I confronted her now, she'd cover her tracks. I needed solid, undeniable proof and to identify Zach. Then it clicked, social media. Emily rarely posted, but Zach might. If he was careless enough to send those texts, maybe he'd left clues online. I grabbed my laptop and searched. It didn't take long. Zach's profile, public, matched the name and photo connected to both Amanda and Emily. As I scrolled, anger flared. Zach was everything I wasn't, younger, fitter, with a smug grin that made me want to break the screen. His feed was full of flashy nights and cryptic captions. One post from 2 weeks ago, a cocktail photo captioned, "Sometimes the forbidden fruit tastes the sweetest," had a single heart emoji from Emily. Not much, but enough to make me see red. I kept digging until a photo made my stomach sink. Zach at the same hotel Emily had visited the night before, captioned "Late nights, best nights." That was the proof I needed. Emily and Zach weren't merely flirting, they were having an affair. The picture fit the other pieces into a devastating whole. I closed the laptop and tried to steady myself. Part of me wanted to confront her then and throw the evidence in her face, but the rational part knew better. If I confronted her unprepared, she'd spin it, make me doubt my own judgment. I needed to be calculated. So I waited, acting normal while my mind churned with plans. When Emily finally came down for coffee the next morning, she offered a cautious good morning, as if testing me. I kept my tone neutral. "Morning," I said. "Sleep well," she nodded, avoiding my eyes. "I'm just glad you're home," I added, forcing a smile. She looked relieved, like she'd gotten away with something. What she didn't know was I had a plan, and soon she'd have to face what she'd done. The day dragged in awkward silence. Emily retreated to the bedroom often, glued to her phone or pretending to tidy. Every time I saw her my stomach churned, but I didn't show my hand. I continued gathering evidence. While she showered I checked her phone again and found another incriminating message from Amanda the night of the party. Did Zach like his surprise? Hope you both had fun. Emily, stop, you're going to get me in trouble. But yeah, he did. That was all I needed to confirm Amanda's involvement. She wasn't just a bystander, she was helping Emily cover it up. My blood boiled. Tempted to confront Amanda, I held back, knowing she'd only spin a story to make me the villain. I had to stay focused. Later that afternoon, Emily came into the living room acting normal, perched across from me sipping coffee. "Are you okay?" she asked tentatively. "Why wouldn't I be?" I replied, watching her closely. "You've been quiet," she fidgeted, uncomfortable. "About what?" "Us," I pressed. "About trust," I said. Her expression faltered briefly before she pasted on a smile. "Ryan, if this is about the party, it's not just about the party," she said. "It's about everything, about what we mean to each other, about honesty," I countered. Her hands tightened around her mug and she looked away. "You're making this a bigger deal than it needs to be," she murmured. "I've told you the truth." "Have you?" I leaned forward. "I'm starting to wonder if I even know who you are anymore." For a moment I thought she might break, but she steadied herself and stood. "I don't know what you want me to say, Ryan. I've done nothing wrong." The audacity of that lie made my jaw clench, but I kept calm, knowing the moment to strike wasn't here. "If you say so," I said, picking up my book. She lingered as if waiting for me to press, then sighed and walked back to the bedroom. She thought she'd talked her way out of it. She had no idea what was coming. I decided to bring someone else in, my best friend Mark. He's the person I turn to in trouble, level-headed, smart, and unafraid of hard truths. Later that evening I stepped outside so Emily wouldn't overhear and called him. "Do you have a minute?" "I need to talk," I said when he picked up. "Of course," he replied, voice serious. I told him everything, the party, the texts, the hotel, Zach. By the time I finished I could barely speak. "First of all, Ryan," Mark said firmly, "you're not crazy. You have reason to suspect something. Stay calm, don't let her see you lose control. Gather evidence. Don't confront her until you're ready." "Ready for what?" I whispered. "For whatever comes next," he said simply. "The truth, a fight, or the end." His words settled heavy on me. I thanked him and hung up, staring at the darkening sky. I didn't know what the future held, but I knew I couldn't let this go. Inside, Emily pretended to sleep in bed. I stood in the doorway watching her. She looked peaceful as if nothing had happened. I knew better, and soon she would too. The next morning I woke determined. I'd spent the night thinking about Mark's advice and planning my next moves. Emily's betrayal wasn't just hers, it demolished the years we'd built, the trust she'd shattered. I couldn't stand by. She was in the kitchen when I came down, coffee in hand and scrolling her phone like everything was ordinary. Her casualness made my blood boil, but I stayed composed. "Morning," I said, pouring coffee. "Morning," she replied, briefly glancing up. "Sleep okay?" "Not really," I admitted, sitting across from her. "I've had a lot on my mind," she hesitated. "About what?" she asked. "About us," I said, locking eyes. "About honesty and trust," she faltered, then recovered. "Ryan, you're reading into things that aren't there." "Am I?" I asked, leaning back. "Because I've been doing a lot of thinking and a lot of digging." Her hand tightened around her mug. "What's that supposed to mean?" "It means I know," I said calmly but firmly. "I know about Zach, the hotel, and Amanda helping you cover it up." Color drained from her face. She stared, mouth opening and closing. "I was going to tell you," she stammered. "I just didn't know how." "Then tell me now," I said, crossing my arms. "Tell me how long you've been sneaking around behind my back." Through sobs she begged that it was a mistake, a stupid, horrible mistake. I laughed bitterly. "A mistake? You call texting him, meeting him, and spending the night with him a mistake? That's not a mistake, Emily. That's a choice, and you made it." She buried her face in her hands, crying that she didn't mean to hurt me. "Congratulations," I said coldly. "You succeeded in destroying everything." Her sobbing grew louder, and for a moment I almost felt sorry. Then I remembered the messages, the lies, the betrayal. She had made her choices and now she would face the consequences. "I've packed your things," I said, standing. "They're outside. I want you out of this house by the end of the day." She looked up, tear-streaked, begging me to talk, to let her fix it. "You should have thought about that before you threw our marriage away," I said, voice icy. "There's nothing left to fix." With that, I left the kitchen and stepped outside. Inside me was a tangle of anger, sadness, and a strange sense of relief. For the first time in weeks I felt like I had control. I didn't know what came next, but I wouldn't let her lies define me. This was the end of our story, and the start of something new. I was ready to take it one step at a time. By the time I returned that evening, Emily was gone. The few things I'd packed for her were gone from the porch and the spare key sat on the welcome mat. It was over. Part of me had dreaded this, but another part felt free. I wasn't tethered to lies, betrayal, and constant doubt anymore. The house felt eerily quiet. I sat on the couch staring at the empty spot where she used to laugh. Memories hit me like waves, but this time I let them wash through me. I needed to face the pain to move forward. The next morning I called Mark to update him. He listened as I told him about the confrontation and Emily's departure. "You did the right thing, Ryan," he said firmly. "It's better to cut ties than stay in something built on lies." "I know," I replied, "but it doesn't make it hurt any less." "Not for a while," he admitted, "but you'll get through it. You'll be stronger." His words brought a small comfort. Over the following weeks I focused on rebuilding. I reached out to friends I hadn't seen, reconnected with family, and started going to the gym. Each day was a small step forward, a reminder that happiness could still exist, even if it looked different than before. Emily tried to contact me, texts, calls, emails begging for a chance to talk. I never replied. Opening that door would only drag me back into pain. Some things are better left in the past. Eventually I learned Emily and Zach didn't last. Amanda let it slip to a mutual friend that their relationship fell apart within weeks. Apparently Zach wasn't as committed as he appeared. Emily ended up alone. I thought I'd feel satisfied, but instead I felt sad. She'd destroyed everything for nothing. But that wasn't my problem anymore. I had my life to focus on, and I wouldn't waste another second looking back. One evening I sat on the porch watching the sunset with a cold beer. For the first time in a long while I felt at peace. Life wasn't perfect, but it was mine again, and that was enough. Sometimes you have to lose everything to find yourself. I hadn't chosen this path, but I was ready to see where it led.